What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from ActionMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Bodyguard of Lies. Because I guess every time around this part of the year, Paramount Plus is going to drop a really solid documentary on us, and we're going to have to pay attention to it. Last time, this was about when we got We Will Dance Again, which was one of my top two favorite documentaries of 2024. I think this one is it's on track. I've seen a couple things this year that I've really loved, but yeah, this is like a top five for sure documentary right now. For me, it does have audio description on Paramount Plus. I stayed to the end and I never got a credit, which was weird. But I love sometimes I'm able to watch the whole credits and nobody pushes me into anything else. And then other times it's like, no, you must watch this other thing immediately, sir. You can't. So this is just like a referendum on the Afghanistan war. It explores all the things that went wrong. It interviews like a dozen people, starts at the beginning and works its way all the way to the end. If you're thinking like politically one way or the other, it doesn't lean one way or the other. It doesn't blame anybody specifically. It's not a anti-Democrat or Republican. This is not a Trump fucked it all up movie. This isn't a Bush is a horrible person and dumbass that fucked everything. No, it's just what it does is it goes through and kind of blames everybody who was involved in the Afghanistan war, and talks about the perpetuation of lies that were coming out constantly, how there are these people that were involved in various levels and they're willing now to talk to the camera, I guess, because we're declassifying everything now. So every time somebody would come out, the message was always in a press conference, regardless of who was president, from Bush to Obama to Trump to Biden, it was always like, we're crushing it, just we're winning. I'm just doing great work. We are, just we're saving the Afghani people from, but this one tells like a completely different story, one that we don't get to hear a whole lot. And the counterbalance to that is I've seen enough stories from very specific points of view that we did bring hope to certain parts of Afghanistan. This one doesn't really talk too much about that. It doesn't really acknowledge the fact that women had a much better life in the 20 years that we were there in Afghanistan, because most of the time they're silenced. It's funny because they use a shot of like a school that's like, we built them a school, but like nobody's using it. The desks are just like stacked up. But yet there's a documentary about an Afghani orchestra that like traveled to France to play, something like that. Anyway, it was like an Oscar contending doc short. And so I think there was like contradictory information. This one is so hard on pushing the one certain narrative that everything was a failure, and it wasn't working. And we spent like hundreds of billions on building Afghanistan. We had no idea who we were fighting. There were conflicts where we were being fed misinformation. There's one specific conflict where they said they went in and they killed a Taliban leader. They didn't kill a Taliban leader. What they killed was sort of like a little warlord for the area, not associated with the Taliban, who works like private security for who provides security for some UK firm, and they figured out that it was like a dispute between two competing people, and the guy decided to take out his competition basically, and so they used the American military to do that. So it's a pretty eye-opening documentary. It's very frank about how we told you life was awesome and it was not awesome, not great. It was anything but. And they do get quite a few people on camera, and some interviews, some whether their interviews are archival footage of people being interviewed from Afghanistan. They're all kind of there. It's put together. It's an interesting perspective and documentary on the war, because we do have a lot of war propaganda. We do have a lot of like, we're amazing. We're America. Everything we do is great, and we're never wrong. Although we frequently are, but we're never wrong. You know, I mean, like, it's one of those things where later we're able to finally reflect on what we could have done better with basically every conflict we've ever had in. We always look back on, Desert Storm, Vietnam, Korea War, World War II, World War One. We can look back on all those things and go, could have done that better. Oh, that wasn't right. Didn't do that. We should have done that earlier. Well, if we had done that, then it would have stopped this. So it's the Monday morning quarterbacking of it all. But to hear it from people who were part of the problem, and they knew they were part of the problem, and they knew that they were just sort of perpetuating, and the system around them was perpetuating this idea that we were winning when we were never winning. What we were doing was always just kind of nonsensical. And there wasn't really a strong understanding of the culture, and we just kind of invaded Afghanistan and didn't really know what we were doing there. And it was country building, and we were trying to create an infrastructure there in Afghanistan to try to. Not that I'm personally necessarily against that. In some regards, when you go into a country that has, human rights violations, I think when you do some sort of like structure and rebuilding to kind of fix it and set it on its path, I don't know that there's too much wrong with that. I don't know that we need to be the only ones doing this. I think there's a reason why we have a United Nations, and we should be a little bit more involved with everybody. So that way it's not just the American way, it's like the productive global society way of coming into these countries and removing, dangerous warlords and criminals and terrorists and all those kinds of organizations, and setting up structures that don't harm their people. But that's not really what this was. This was kind of just America and the corporations that were contractors profiting from all of these deals that they were making to build shit in Afghanistan. And through that, the messaging that was coming out at the time was always just like, yep, we did it. But we didn't. Did not do it. And then, of course, at the end, now there is like a whole documentary about like leaving. Actually, I think I've seen like 2 documentaries about the whole exit of Afghanistan, which is like a whole different monster altogether. But I think when you watch this and you understand that there was never really a structure to begin with, and they were never really competently in Afghanistan, and it was never really like us, like we never really had it. Like it was kind of in shambles, and we kind of left something that was in shambles the whole time. We just were telling people, no, we were good. Even the movie War Machine with Brad Pitt, that's on Netflix, kind of discusses this slightly, about the perspective of projection and making sure to say, we're doing great. We're making progress. Progress is being made, even if there isn't any. So, I like this documentary a lot. I think it's one of the best ones I've seen this year. I'm not going to hamper it simply because there are other documentaries about other perspectives. Those are very specific ones about very specific things, whether or not it's women in Afghanistan or child musicians in Afghanistan. I mean, they are very specific to those causes. This is a more broad look, and it's specifically coming out of how America projected success when there wasn't any coming from the people who were there, coming from contractors, coming from people who worked in and around the conflict. So it doesn't need to be broad. That's when you start getting into docu-series. That's when you get Ken Burns and you run 10 episodes on PBS so that you can get all the varying angles to the story. This is one perspective that we don't talk about that much and is quite frank in how we failed miserably, and doesn't put the blame on any one specific presidency, on any one specific party, on any one specific. This is a neutral thing. So if you've come to this and you're like, he looks woke, this is an apolitical documentary. This is just like people who were in Afghanistan telling you, listen, I don't know if you know, but it was always a waste of time. We were never winning. So, yeah, Bodyguard of Lies. I'm going to remember this documentary, and that's a good thing. So I'm going to give it a 9.1 out of 10. I was captivated. I liked it. I thought this was one of the best documentaries of the year. So, kudos to putting this together, Paramount. So I don't know if they're going to push this for awards. I don't know if it's eligible or not, but I think they should. We'll see what happens with it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.